Behind the bars. Lily was a curious young girl, always exploring her surroundings. She lived in a small town surrounded by thick forests and meadows. One day, as she was wandering near the forest's edge, she stumbled upon an old, abandoned house. The windows were broken, and the door was slightly ajar. However, what caught her attention the most was the soft whimpering sound coming from inside. Being adventurous, she decided to investigate. Pushing the creaky door open, she entered the dimly lit house. The sound grew louder, guiding her to the basement door. As she descended the stairs, the whimpering became more distinct. At the end of the stairs, she found a cage, and inside was a scared-looking puppy with bright blue eyes. Lily's heart sank as she saw the puppy behind the bars. It looked weak, probably from not eating for days. Without thinking twice, she opened the cage and carried the puppy out. The puppy wagged its tail, showing gratitude. She decided to name him Shadow due to his sleek, dark fur. Lily knew she couldn't leave him in the house, so she took Shadow home. Her parents were initially surprised but, seeing the bond between Lily and the puppy, they agreed to adopt him. Over the next few months, Shadow became a vital part of their family. He grew stronger and loved playing in the garden, chasing butterflies. Lily and Shadow were inseparable. They would go on long walks, and Shadow would always protect her from any harm. However, Lily always wondered how Shadow ended up in the old house. She decided to ask around the town to see if anyone knew about the house and the puppy. Old Mrs. Turner, who lived 2 houses away, told her a story. The house belonged to a man named Mr. Jacobs. He loved animals and often rescued them. However, after he passed away, many of his animals were taken in by neighbors, but somehow, Shadow was left behind, forgotten. Lily felt a mixture of sadness and anger. She was glad she found Shadow but was upset that he had been neglected for so long. One evening, as the sun painted the sky with shades of orange and pink, Lily sat in her garden with Shadow by her side. She promised him that he would never be alone again. Shadow looked into her eyes, his tail wagging, as if he understood every word. Years went by, and the bond between Lily and Shadow only grew stronger. They faced many adventures and challenges together, but their story always began with the day she found him behind the bars of that old, abandoned house. On the roof. Jake was an introverted teenager, often lost in his own world of books and music. His bedroom was on the 2nd floor, and right outside his window was the flat roof of the garage. Many nights, he would sneak out onto this roof to gaze at the stars, listen to music, or simply enjoy the silence. One evening, as he lay on the roof, earphones plugged in, he noticed a silhouette on the neighboring roof. It was his next-door neighbor, Clara. Clara was around his age, but they had never spoken much. She was sketching something, her face illuminated by a soft lamp. Jake mustered up some courage and waved. To his surprise, she waved back and signaled for him to come over. Jake hesitated for a moment but then decided to join her. He climbed down from his roof, and with a bit of acrobatics, he managed to get onto Clara's roof. "Hey," Jake greeted, a bit out of breath. Clara smiled. "Hey. I've seen you on your roof many times. What do you do there?" "Just thinking, I guess." "And listening to music," Jake replied, showing his earphones. "What about you? What are you sketching?" Clara showed him her sketchbook. It was filled with drawings of the night sky, the stars, the moon, and various constellations. "I love astronomy," she confessed. "I come here to observe and draw." The two began to chat more. Jake shared his love for music, and Clara told him about her dreams of becoming an astronomer. They realized they had a lot in common, including their love for the night sky. Hours passed, and the night deepened. They lay side by side, watching shooting stars and pointing out constellations. Jake even shared his playlist with Clara, introducing her to his favorite songs. As dawn approached, they saw the sky change colors, from deep blue to a rosy hue. Birds started chirping, signaling the start of a new day. "We should probably head in," Clara whispered, not wanting to break the spell of the moment. Jake nodded, "Yeah. But let's do this again." Clara smiled, "Definitely." From that day, the two became inseparable. Their rooftops became their sanctuary, a place where they shared dreams, music, and stories. It was a friendship that began unexpectedly, on a quiet night, on the roof. Miami Beach. Liam and MIA were best friends since childhood. They grew up in a small town in Illinois and always dreamed of exploring new places. As they approached their final year of high school, they made a pact: they would take a trip together during the summer holidays. After months of saving money from their part-time jobs, they decided on a destination, Miami Beach. Neither of them had ever seen the ocean, and the idea of sunbathing on sandy beaches, exploring vibrant neighborhoods, and tasting local cuisines filled them with excitement. On the day of their journey, they boarded a plane with a mix of nervousness and thrill. The flight seemed short, as they chatted away, making plans and sharing their expectations. Upon reaching Miami, the first thing they did was rush to the beach. The sight of the vast ocean, shimmering under the sun, left them in awe. The gentle waves, the distant horizon, and the feel of the soft sand beneath their feet were magical. During their week-long stay, Liam and MIA tried various activities. They took surf lessons, which led to many laughs and a few tumbles. They visited the colorful streets of Little Havana, where they danced to Cuban rhythms and tasted delicious empanadas. One evening, as they sat at a beachfront cafe, they met Rosa and Carlos, a local couple. The two were musicians and played at a nearby club. They invited Liam and MIA to their show. It was an evening of lively music, with the sound of congas, guitars, and beautiful singing. MIA even got on stage and tried to sing along, much to everyone's amusement. The days passed quickly, and it was soon time to return. On their last day, they went to a quiet spot on the beach. They built a sandcastle and wrote their names inside a heart. "This was the best week of my life," MIA said, looking at the setting sun. Liam nodded in agreement. "We made so many memories. Miami Beach will always be special." Years later, even as life took them on different paths, the memories of Miami Beach remained fresh in their minds. It was not just a trip, it was an adventure, a bond, and a treasure trove of experiences they would cherish forever. Happy ending. Sophie was an avid reader. Her small apartment was filled with books of all genres. Every night, after her long shifts at the cafe, she'd dive into a new story, traveling to distant lands and times. However, Sophie had one peculiar habit. She never read the last chapter of any book. She believed in creating her own endings, ones that were always happy. One day, at the cafe, a regular customer, Ben, noticed Sophie reading during her break. He was a writer, always scribbling notes for his next story. "What are you reading?" he asked, trying to peek at the cover. "It's a mystery novel," Sophie replied, shielding the book playfully. "But don't ask about the ending. I never read the last chapters." Ben looked intrigued. "Really? Why?" Sophie smiled. "I like to imagine my own endings, always positive and hopeful. It's my little escape from reality." Days turned into weeks, and every time Ben visited the cafe, he and Sophie shared stories, books, and laughs. They bonded over their love for tales and imagination. One evening, Ben handed Sophie a neatly wrapped package. "For you," he said. She unwrapped it to find a book titled Happy Ending. The author's name was Ben. "Is this?" she started. Ben nodded. "It's my latest work. But there's a twist. The last chapter is blank. I thought you'd like to write the ending." Sophie was touched. No one had ever done something so thoughtful for her. "Thank you, Ben." "I'll cherish this," she whispered. Weeks passed, and Sophie finally penned down the ending to Ben's book. It was an ending filled with hope, love, and new beginnings. She handed the completed book back to Ben. As he read her ending, his eyes shimmered with tears. This is beautiful, Sophie. It's the best ending the story could have." From then on, their friendship blossomed into a deep bond. They wrote stories together, each complementing the other's style. And as for Sophie, she still skipped the last chapters of other books, but for Ben's stories, she always wrote the most beautiful conclusions. The two writers, with their shared passion, ensured that every tale had a happy ending.